to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the Winter Lake, taking the lead. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it was a real funny experience because I'd never been sort of the number one before. That was really funny for me. But yeah, it was a very welcome sense of responsibility. I really enjoyed sort of taking the weight of the world on my shoulders as it is, for the film. And I learned so much from doing that.
So do you feel extra pressure when it is you who takes the lead? I mean, you have an ensemble cast, but if you stuff it up, well, no pressure or anything.
Yeah. No, I did certainly feel the pressure. I remember I flew out to Sligo where we shot the film about 2 weeks before we started rolling cameras, and I was doing kind of prep and exploring the area and having meetings with people. And I remember about 3 days before, I rang the director and I was like, "Can you come over?" And he was like, "Why?" And I was like, "I don't think I can do this." And he came around and I had all these notes in front of me. I looked like some mad scientist. And he went, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what are you doing?" And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And he was like, "You know what you're doing, mate. Trust me, you know what you're doing. You're fine. Just have fun and enjoy it." And that's exactly what I did. And hopefully, well, that definitely doesn't read on screens. It's definitely not a fun film, but
no.
hopefully, yeah, I did something good with it.
And so, that had to be comforting to get the director in there saying that to you. Were you still nervous, though, on day one? And how long did it take you to go, actually, he's not just trying to blow smoke up me. I do have this. I've got this. And it can be fun.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever feel like that. I don't know if I ever feel like, I've got this, I can do this, I am the person to do this. But I just really enjoy pretending to be other people. So I just kind of, that's what I focus on, and I just try and imagine, that I'm meeting the person I'm playing in real life, and just doing a little skit like I would have done for my mum and dad when I was younger, and just kind of have fun with the job and do what I love. Yeah.
Yeah, but you could choose so many jobs, and I can understand why you chose this one, right? Because it is a really gritty film. But, if I see the title, The Winter Lake, I see that it's filmed in rural Ireland in the middle of winter. I'm going to have to be standing in a lake. That would probably send me running. What was, were you prepared for how cold it was going to be?
No, definitely not. And I cast my mind back to one night. It was about February the 11th, I think. And I was standing in a freezing lake in Sligo at about 1 a.m, just thinking, what am I doing here? But it was so worth it because I absolutely love making the film. But I guess once you fall in love with a script the way I fell in love with it, I had read it and I couldn't put it down, like a book when you're just gripped. I just had my head buried in it. I just wanted to read it and read it and read it again. And so then I just knew that I had to do it. I just really, really wanted to play that part because the story just fascinated me from the offset.
Yeah, but Anson, how long does it take to recover from that? Because, I mean, it's summer here and I refuse to step foot in the beach because I think it's too cold during the day. You're doing it at 1 o'clock in the morning. Surely your body is going to shut down mode.
Yeah, but it all helps, doesn't it? It just makes it so real on camera.
You weren't acting.
It's kind of like, if you really want to give the audience a real sense of what that, what the story is and what the character will have gone through if it was a real life story, then you've got to do it yourself, haven't you? It's like when, actors do their own stunts. I love doing all that stuff because if I really want to play this character justice and I really want to engage the audience in what I'm doing, then I think it's all about doing it yourself and really putting yourself in the character's shoes.
Well, there's a lot to put yourself in because Tom is such a serious character. And when you play someone like that, how long does it take you to disconnect either at the end of the day or at the end of the shoot? Do you feel exhausted, mentally drained?
Yeah, you 100% feel exhausted. You're very thankful for your night's rest.
Yeah.
But it's the same on a lot of jobs. If there's any difficult theme in anything I do, you just have to try and make sure you don't let that seep into your personal life because that can be really damaging. And Tom has a very difficult relationship with his mother in the film, and I'm really close with my mum in real life, so I would hate for that to, feed into my personal feelings. But it's just, at the end of the day, you've got to take your costume off, you've got to get rid of the accent, you've got to have a cup of tea, go home, have your dinner, and just watch some telly, and, ring your mum if that's how you feel. And which is exactly what I did. But yeah, it's very, to have an accent, obviously you will be able to tell I don't speak the way I speak like this in the film. It's really
I was shocked. I was shocked when you said hi. I was like, oh, that's not what I was listening to yesterday.
But yeah, it's just that all those little things that you can switch off at the end of the filming day really help for you to recover that evening.
Sorry, that's my phone is on. Um, as well as that, does the cast help? Because you had a great cast, Charlie Murphy and Emma Mackey. Love her in Sex Education. So total shock, a nice surprise seeing her on screen.
Mm. Yeah, it was funny because I remember when we were, I had been offered the role of Tom, and then I was auditioning with a bunch of people to play the role of Holly. And I remember one morning I was walking into an office in like Waterloo in London, and I walked past this huge poster of Emma Mackey for Sex Education outside the tube station. And I looked at it and I was like, oh. And then in she walked an hour later to the audition room. And I was like, oh. And then, and I just knew that she had to be Holly after we read together in that audition. But yeah, it does help. And like I said, the difficult relationship my character Tom has with the role Elaine, who Charlie Murphy plays, his mother in the film, meant that me and Charlie didn't want to spend too much time rehearsing together or pretending to be Tom and Elaine with each other, because we wanted the audience to really feel that tension and the awkwardness and the lack of a familiarity between these two people when they watch the film. So there was a real separation between characters and Anson and Charlie. So at the end of the filming day, if we'd had a particularly difficult day, it was really nice because me and Charlie, there was no familiarity between our characters. We were just Anson and Charlie having some crack, and we'd go down the pub or something, and that really helps, definitely.
That sounds lovely. Now, Anson, you've had such an incredible start to your career. I mean, starring alongside Susan Sarandon and Kate Winslet in Blackbird. You featured in 1917, like the film of 2019. And then you go and take the lead in this. Like, everyone says that it's so hard to get into this industry. How did you get your break? And then just go bang, 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 literally.
Yeah. Well, I certainly had no helping start because I am just from the middle of nowhere in England, and none of my family are involved in the industry. I would, growing up, if I'd have said to mum and dad, I want to be an actor, that's just not an option. It's just not something that anyone from around here does. But it was apparent from a young age that all I wanted to do was just pretend to be other people. I just loved making people laugh and entertaining. And I used to love watching, my mum used to play me and my brother Disney films when we were little. And, that sort of thing, just the idea of Hollywood really sort of dazzled my eyes. I thought it was really interesting. And so when I was younger, I just did loads of Amdram classes and just classes that school offered, groups and stuff. And then at the weekend, I went to a local theatre school called Stagecoach, which are all over the UK, and I believe they're in Ireland as well. And they're part of like a big network, and they have an in-house agency. Which one day, my dad drove me to Birmingham, and I auditioned for this in-house agency upon recommendation from my drama teacher. And with some miracle, I got into it. And then I did a kids show off the back of that. It was my first ever audition when I was 14. I took myself off down to London and I went to BBC Studios. And this was all so alien to me. It was just, I felt like, a dream was coming true. And I got this tiny part in a kids show. And then I did my GCSEs, didn't act again. And then when I was 17, there was an open casting call for a Netflix series called The Alienist. And I went in and read for a part in The Alienist. And I was basically hired to be a background character. But the director seemed to be really spent so much time since like December 2018 or going all around the world to film, which is amazing and is all I would have wanted, if you spoke to 13-year-old Anson. But now 20-year-old Anson is kind of like, just want to go and see my nan and granddad a little bit. Yeah. So this has been, I was working on something and then, that had to obviously shut down because of the virus. So I, flew home, and now I've just kind of had a few months to just refresh, cool down, spend a lot of quality time with family. And that's been really nice. But, it's safe to say I'm geared up to go back to work now, definitely.
Yeah. And look, it's great that, amongst all of this as well, the Winter Lake is out for us to enjoy. Anson, it has been a real pleasure chatting to you. Can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Cheers.